Alright, you guys, welcome back to the channel. If you don't know already, my name is Dylan Lustig. Behind me is my 5th gen Camaro, and unfortunately yesterday it left me stranded. So yesterday I left from the house to go and get gas. The gas station is like 5 minutes away. I went to go get gas. I stopped at the pump, turned the car off, put gas in, and then when I went to crank the car back up, it didn't start anymore. And if you've been following the channel, you will know that we've been having hot start issues with the starter, which is a very common issue for these 5th gen Camaros. So we've been sort of working around that issue. We added ground wires a couple of videos ago, or maybe a video ago. We did all that stuff, and the starter had been holding up. I mean, it was doing fine. And then all of a sudden, what I think at least is that it failed on me. So now it's just, well, it's not doing fine. Oh, I ended up being stranded in the Sam's parking lot. I left the car during the day. I came back at night hoping that it would cool down and then I'd be able to crank it, but it didn't. So I had to take the front bumper off. That way we could tow the car because I don't have a tow hook, which if you don't have a tow hook on your car, get a tow hook for stuff like this. It was a pain in the butt to have to take the bumper off in the parking lot. But we did all that, towed it home. And well, it's here now. So what I'm gonna do for you guys right now is show the clips of me being stranded, me having to tow the car, and then I'll get back to you guys. All right, so I'm pretty sure my starter gave. As you can tell, we're stranded at the gas station. Had to take the bumper off. That way I have somewhere to tow the vehicle from because I don't have a tow hook. So luckily, my stepdad came and helped me out. We did have to take the bumper off. So it's right there, but I don't know, I think the starter died, but we'll see. I'm gonna have to go and get everything tested. But right now it is giving me a battery low warning. Other than that though, I mean, I don't know, it died though, so that sucks. So yeah, man, it was a big hassle to tow this thing, but it's here now. What I'm gonna do today is take the battery off and take the alternator off and go have both of those things tested. I'm gonna do that first, that way I know 100% that it's the starter. After I do those two things, if I need to, well, it's not even gonna be if I need to. I'm more than likely gonna end up having to buy a new starter, but I just wanna test these things just to be sure. So let me get the battery off, let me get the alternator off, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so up first we have removing our battery. First thing I'm going to do is remove our negative post. So that's just a 10 millimeter, comes off. Same thing for the positive, comes off. These two are 13 millimeters, which I have right here. So that comes off. We'll put that to the side. Down there, forgot about this guy. So that one comes off, and then if we're strong, ooh, the battery comes out. And bring it over here to the Bronco. This is my girlfriend, by the way. Dinosaur chicken nugget pillow. Who does that? Oh, let me check real quick, because it did have a date, I think, or something was written on the side. Oh, no date. Oh, look, 2021. All right, moving on to the alternator. I already got the intake off. And what's annoying is I've got to take this belt off. And what's annoying about that is I'm gonna have to put it back on. It's not hard to do, it's just sort of annoying, like weaving it through everywhere. But the socket for here is a 15 millimeter. Just pull it towards you, and then this belt comes off. Just like that. Finally, the alternator, these are 15 millimeters. There's one bolt right there. There's another bolt hidden under that pulley right there. And the third one is down there. All of those are 15 mils. We take those out and the alternator should come out no problem. Also, before I get wrenching, and I forget to tell you guys, there is a electrical connection back here that needs to come off right here on the alternator. So don't rip this thing off and then rip that wire off, because then, well, then you're screwed. I also forgot to mention, let me get you guys a shot. Where is it? This bolt right here. take this one off too. And then with those, oh, this isn't a bolt. Technically, this is a nut. Don't correct me in the comments. I corrected myself. So as you can see, we've got the alternator off. There are those 3 bolts, and then this nut that needs to come off. And then there's also one more thing on the back. As you can see, there's this little area right here, and there's a ground wire back there. So don't forget to take that ground wire off. Don't forget to take that connector off, and then the alternator comes out. I did have to, let me put this down. I did have to remove this pulley. So this pulley right here is a 15 as well, and I removed it from right there just because the alternator was big, and I mean, it didn't want to come out, so I removed that and then it came out no problem. But other than that, let me load the alternator up and then we'll take it to go get tested. So I loaded everything up. I was getting ready to take off. I called Advanced Auto Parts just to double check that they did the alternator and the battery testing. The good news is they do. The bad news is, since it's past 7:30, they can't do it today, which is fine. I'm just gonna unload this battery. I want to carry it inside. I'll just put it in the room, I guess, and then we'll get back at it tomorrow. All right, so quick update. We took the battery, and the guy said the battery was good. It just needed charge, and so I'm slow charging it. So I'll go tomorrow morning to pick it up. Took the alternator as well, and I had left the alternator. Hold on, wait a second. We're getting Harley out. Come on, man. Chill, bro. All right. Anyway, I had left the alternator in the bracket just because I was too lazy to sort of hammer those pins out. And they said that they need the bracket taken off. So right now I'm back at the house. We're just gonna take the bracket off and then go back and give them the alternator to test it. But for now, let me just get this alternator down, remove it all the way, and then we'll go back and see what they say. So I was messing with the alternator, and I just wanted to show you guys this just in case you come into the same situation that I did. So obviously I have the whole bracket off. I took off the bracket, not just the alternator. I thought these right here, like that little metal piece, I thought those were pins that went through that were holding the alternator in place, but they're not. Those things are just kind of there. The alternator seems like it's stuck, but it's not. So at first I was hammering those thinking they were pins and they wouldn't move. So I figured, okay, those probably aren't pins. And so I start hammering here at the alternator. And what I'm doing, I don't have my head mount, so I can't show you guys this, like me actually doing it, but I'm just putting a piece of metal right there, and then I get the hammer and pow, 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 and slowly the alternator is lowering. So yeah, if you're in the same situation, if you take the bracket off and the alternator seems like it's stuck, it's not. Just get something to sort of put right there and hammer away. Obviously I'm doing it on the grass because I don't want to hammer my alternator in the concrete. So yeah, so if you ever run into that problem, the alternator isn't stuck on the bracket, it just needs some persuasion. And after a couple of minutes of asking nicely with a piece of metal, a hammer, and a pry bar, the alternator is separated from the bracket. So now we can take this bad boy and go and get it tested. All right, it's getting dark out, but I just finished here at AutoZone. Man inside put the alternator on their fancy machine, and he said it's running good. So our alternator is good. The battery is getting charged down the street over there at Advanced Auto Parts. But after those two things, I know those two things are good, so it's gonna be the starter. So I'm just gonna go on to Rock Auto. You guys know how I feel about Rock Auto. Amazing prices, and the stuff ships fast. And I'm gonna look at and see what the price is for a new starter. But let me get home, we'll finish this video off, and I'll probably tell you guys how much the starter costs on Rock Auto. But I'm gonna be doing the starter and that little heat wrap, but we'll talk about all that when we get home. All right, so back home, I do want to close this video out, but real quick, I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to buy. So obviously I said Rock Auto. Rock Auto is the place that I go to for things like this. Here on the phone, I know it's going to be a little bit blurry, but you can see AC Delco, that's the starter. And that says $123.89. So I'll buy the starter for $123, and I think that little heat wrap thing is like 40 bucks. So I'll probably be $180 or something like that in for the new starter and the little heat wrap, but that's not too bad. So replacing the starter, that video will be coming sometime soon. For now, I know the battery is fine. I know the alternator is fine. So that gives me peace of mind for those things. but a new starter is going to be needed. So with all that said, if you have any questions you want to ask me, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below, or you can reach out to me personally. I do my best to answer each and every single one of you. And until next video, I'm out here.